Senator Tom Cotton represents Arkansas. He was one of the most vocal opponents of this law last year, and he joins us tonight. Senator, are you surprised?
Tucker, I'm not surprised at all that almost 5,000 serious felons, as you say, murderers, sex offenders, robbers, drug lords have been released early under this law. I predicted this would happen exactly as it has. You could read the plain text of the law and know that thousands of felons were going to be released in just months after its passage.
So I think of myself as one of the people who you could convince on this. I mean, I think there are people in prison who deserve to be released. I don't think that everybody who commits a crime should spend the rest of his life in prison, and I believe in rehabilitation. What I'm infuriated by is they told us that the people getting out early would be sent to recidivism reduction classes. In other words, they'd be rehabilitated. And in a lot of cases, as the one we just described, they haven't been. They've just been released early. They lied to us.
Well, Tucker, I agree with what you said about the goals of what that legislation should have had, which is trying to get people back on their feet, to give them an education, to help them find the Lord. So when they leave prison, as everyone does, if they're not sentenced to death or life without parole, they become a productive member of society. But it was always the case that thousands of serious felons were going to be released early if that bill passed. I said it at the time, and it's come to pass now.
I mean, is there anything that can be done about it? I mean, if you're going to release serious felons, violent felons, then why can't they go into one of these much talked about recidivism reduction programs? Why do they have to just be released?
Tucker, the good news is that Attorney General Bill Barr believes very firmly in law and order, and he's taking a very deliberate and careful approach to crafting some of these programs and the way that prisoners who go into them will be released from prison in the future. His hands have been largely tied, though, on these releases up till now. But just look at what Attorney General Barr did this week in signing execution warrants for 5 heinous murderers, one who murdered an 8-year-old girl and her parents just a few miles up the road from where I grew up in Arkansas. It gives you a sense of where Attorney General Barr's mind is when it comes to criminal justice, that he wants to make sure that we are protecting the vulnerable among us and our communities.
Let me just ask you one final question on this Friday night. You were, again, probably the lead of the opposition to this law. Some people you work with and who are your friends supported it. Now that we know that the law isn't working the way they told us it was going to work, have any of those people come up to you and said, I was wrong, I'm sorry?
No, Tucker, not many people in Washington, which is a town of a lot of folks who make confident predictions that don't come up to pass, have come up and said, yeah, you told us so. And I don't take pleasure in saying I told you so. What has come to pass is what I predicted, that thousands of serious and oftentimes violent felons would be released. To my knowledge, none of them have committed a crime yet. I said at the time that given recidivism rates, especially if they don't go through any kind of anti-recidivism training, they're likely to commit crimes in the future. I hope I'm wrong in that prediction, but with thousands of serious felons released early, I fear that I won't be.
Senator Tom Cotton, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tucker.